Hello everyone, my name is Infinity and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course the law of attraction. Have you heard of the declassified documents the CIA has released to the public? I'll link them down below. You can actually find these documents on the official CIA.gov site. It's interesting when, for so long, an idea can be completely ridiculed and called even a pseudoscience, as in a fake science, essentially a nonsense science. But then there are those who say, wait, I've experienced this. I have experiences that differ from the narrative, from what most people would say is possible. And then one day, that narrative changes and reveals that these things that were called pseudoscientific before are actually real and have been documented. What am I talking about? I'm talking about astral travel, astral projection. Have you heard of astral projection? Maybe you've seen about it in movies. There are movies that make it look terrifying or even evil, kind of, if this is real, don't try it at home kinds of messages in these stories saying that if you astral travel, terrible things can happen to you. I believe that these are fear-based messages that keep us from realizing our true power and potential and the infinite world of knowledge and experience available to us through astral travel. Have you ever had a dream that you were flying or that you were falling and it felt so real that you literally jolted awake? You felt like you had been falling from the sky down into your body or into your bed. If so, you've actually astral traveled before, although maybe you weren't completely aware that you were doing it. It is said that 10% of people will experience what is known as an OBE in their lifetime. An OBE is a shorthand for an out-of-body experience. Sometimes these experiences are unconscious. You hear about it all the time when someone has a near-death experience and they talk about momentarily leaving their body. People who are in a serious accident saying that they were floating above their bodies and able to see themselves being revived by the doctors and nurses. There are far too many accounts of these experiences for them to be coincidental. At this point, even those who don't fully believe in the possibility of astral travel still can't deny that people share very similar out-of-body experiences. Now, the difference between these near-death out-of-body experiences and astral travel or astral projection is astral travel is intentional. So when you astral travel, you consciously choose to leave your body, which sounds scary if you're not familiar with this idea, but you consciously decide to leave your body for a purpose. Maybe that purpose is as simple as testing whether it's real. Maybe you just want to know that your soul exists and that your soul is separate from your physical body, even though, of course, you know this deep down. And when you go about testing it, you know on some level that you're really just confirming what you've known all along. But to many people, when they first astral travel, it gives them a greater confidence in life, a greater confidence, ironically, in their physical bodies when they leave their physical bodies occasionally, because as they realize that they are more than the physical shell they live in day to day, they can be less afraid, they can feel less vulnerable about what their physical body might experience here on Earth, including death. Many overcome the fear of dying through astral projection because they're able to deeply, without a doubt, confirm to themselves that death of the physical body isn't the end. Let me circle back here for a second, because I started by promising I'd share more about these declassified CIA documents. I read these documents a few days ago. You can check them out yourself. To be honest, I am fascinated by all of these kinds of spiritual, esoteric concepts, but even I was truly surprised by these documents. I was surprised that these tests were done in the first place, by the results of these tests and the fact that they were being released to the public. It's truly life-altering information. What did these documents share? Well, to me, the most notable experiment documented by the CIA that they've now released is an experiment in which they took someone who said that they were able to astral travel, astral project, and this person was actually skilled in something else, and this was remote viewing. Before I get into this story, I have to make a very important distinction, because the reason many people doubt the reality of astral projection is they misunderstand it. When you astral project, there is much that you can do, and you're not necessarily always traveling within your physical now world. What I mean by that is, when you astral project, you can visit different times, places, yourself in different lifetimes. You can time travel. When you think of astral projection, you have to think of an infinite space containing all planets, dimensions, times, and states of being. And at will, you can travel to any of those places. So yes, you could travel in the present physical world without leaving your body through astral projection. But because there are so many layers of reality that you could also astral travel to, like that place 10 years ago, that place 100 years in the future, that place, but in a different parallel dimension. There's so many versions of that place that you could travel to through astral travel that to someone who is less skilled or maybe a little bit less conscious about their astral journeys, they may think because they traveled to that place, they're seeing it in real time. And if someone is skilled enough, they can see it in real time, but if they're not, they may be seeing shadows of the past or potential future outcomes of that place, or they could be seeing it in a different dimension altogether, so it might not reflect what you would wake up and call current reality. This means that when someone claims that they can astral travel, oftentimes then someone will say, okay, I'll test that. I have an object in this location. I want you to describe it perfectly to me, and then tell me what it is through astral travel. So this person astral travels to this thing, the coordinates or location of this said object. But the problem is, a lot of times, without realizing it, they are seeing shadows of the past. So there's actually a really interesting example I found of this when I was researching. I'll give credit to the Reddit user below that I saw this story from, and I'll link it. But this Reddit user was writing a post about how they had actually traveled to, so basically their brother was a doubter in astral travel, and they themselves had astrally traveled frequently and were familiar with it, but their brother was like, okay, I will test your astral travel accuracy. There's something in my basement. I want you to astral travel and then tell me what it is. So this Reddit user astral traveled, went to their basement, and found some kind of device. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was some very old kind of device. And it was very specific about it. So he told his brother what he found, and his brother said, he laughed at him and was like, that's ridiculous. That's not in my basement. You're wrong. Astral travel isn't real. Well, then this Reddit user said that 5 years later, 10 years, some period of time later, this guy was talking to the previous owner of his house, and the previous owner had had that exact thing, that exact device that this guy had seen during his astral travels, and he kept it in the basement. So this means that what the guy was seeing was accurate. It was just accurate to a shadow of the past and not to what we would call current reality. So this is why so many tests are flawed and why so much information about this is confusing. But what I really appreciated with the CIA test is they took someone, when they tested it, they took someone who specifically was trained in the art of remote viewing. How is remote viewing different from general astral projection? So remote viewing is a subsection of astral travel in which you are traveling to a specific location in now reality, in now physical reality, in our so-called truth. You're not traveling to a different time, to that place in a different dimension. You're traveling to that place as it is exactly now. Obviously, this would be especially useful to the CIA. They would want to know everything they could about this, because if someone was able to remote view, then of course they could infiltrate someone's government and spy on them without even leaving their body or their country. So of course the CIA would want to know about the possibility of this. It's why they took an interest in it. So what they did with this subject, this experiment, is they had two different tests that I find fascinating. One test was they basically had a facility that they knew about in Russia, in the USSR at the time. And they had this person who claimed to be able to astral project leave their physical body through astral travel to the coordinates he was given. He attempted to locate the facility in the USSR. So he wasn't given the coordinates, he was given a description, and he went to try to find it. Not only did he find it, but he gave exact coordinates. I mean, this guy was good. Like, I wish I was able to astral travel and remote view things like this. This was amazing. He gave exact coordinates of this facility and described several specific external features of it, all without leaving his body, or without traveling there at all. Just his soul leaving his body through astral travel. I found this to be amazing. But even more amazing than that is this second experiment. In the second astral travel experiment, the CIA gave this guy coordinates. So last time they're having him find a place and tell them the coordinates. This time they gave him the coordinates of a small Soviet-occupied island in the Indian Ocean. The crazy thing to me about this experiment specifically is this island didn't show up on a usual traditional map. So the people that were actually experimenting on him, that were testing him, thought that this was just a fake out, that basically they were giving him the coordinates to open ocean, hoping that he would be like, oh, there's land or an island or something there, when really it's just ocean. So it's kind of like testing his abilities to see if he is just assuming there would be something there. So the experimenters themselves didn't even know about the existence of this island when they tested him. So they gave him the coordinates, and this guy starts drawing he takes out a piece of paper and starts drawing this large scale map, a very precise map. And when the experimenters saw it, I'm sure that they were thinking, oh, okay, this guy didn't pass the test because he thinks there's an island there. We obviously know there's not. Well, when they handed it to their higher up people, who I don't know what these officials would be called, but the people behind the test, not the experimenters, but the people in the CIA that knew that there was an island there. They took the map and they were amazed to find that this guy's map was an exact topographical representation of the island. I mean, and it was specific too, and it was detailed. And not only that, but he even described what was going on the island as well. So this, to me, these documents prove what many people knew already, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that astral travel exists, is real, and isn't just, as scientists have previously believed or said, isn't just some kind of episode of the mind that is completely made up in the mind, like an unconscious dream. When you astral travel, you actually are visiting times and places that have existed or do exist in at least some dimension. And people that are trained in astral travel are even able to accurately practice remote viewing. They're accurately able to visit places in our current physical world and see them exactly as they are, which I find incredibly amazing. So, what does this mean for us? This means that if you needed any more confirmation that you are so much more than your physical body, this is it. I don't know who's listening right now that has felt bounded, imprisoned in their physical body. Maybe you are sick, or maybe you have some physical disability, or maybe you've never fully felt comfortable in your body and you don't even really know why. Maybe the reason you haven't felt comfortable in your body is because your soul is infinite. Your soul is so much greater and more expansive than your body, and maybe you are such a soul-driven, soul-guided person that you almost just feel stifled by this physical shell, and that's okay. It's part of what being human is about, and those of us who have been on this planet many times and lived many lifetimes and spent much time even just as spirit beings know that this isn't all there is. And sometimes, especially when we've lived these lifetimes, we can feel a little bit contained in our physical bodies. But I want you to know that no matter what you're struggling with right now, if you are struggling with something, you're not struggling, you're growing. It's all part of your soul's expansion. You're learning how to exist on this planet. You're learning how to evolve your own soul. And not just that, but also part of your purpose is uplifting the whole planet. So I know I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I felt guided to. I felt like some of you listening needed to hear that. So I really hope that wherever you are, you enjoyed listening to this podcast. I definitely really enjoy connecting with you here on my channel. I hope that you'll take the time to check out my social media. I have a blog, magnetizeyourself.com, as well as an Instagram. Same thing, Magnetize Yourself on Instagram, so you can follow me there. I would really, really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to me here. My goal is to build a like-minded community of conscious, creative beings to support one another here on our spiritual and physical journeys here on this earth in this lifetime. Because really, as astral travel tells us, and as we know in our own souls, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So I hope you'll share some of that experience with me here. Thank you so much again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all again in the next podcast.